Welcome once again to the Radical Imagination. I'm your host, Jim Vrettos. The left has famously self-destructed time and time again in trying to build social change movements without taking into account the spiritual concerns and needs of the groups they're trying to organize. The Radical Imagination, like Reverend Barber's Poor People's Campaign and Cornel West's Justice for All Party, supports movements that aren't explicitly religious, but rather are inclusive, spiritual visions from different religious, secular, and faith traditions that's been the common wisdom of much of humanity for much of recorded history. People's need for spiritual meaning is just as intense as their need for economic security, and these movements should emphasize the values and social ideas of love, generosity, kindness, nonviolence, caring, and an open-heartedness to the awe and wonder of the beauty and mystery of life and the world. In reality, it's the only alternative to the destructive and self-destructive cycle of a fear-based worldview of violence and hate that continues to bedevil the human condition and threatens the extinction of us all. Our guest today on the Radical Imagination is Gabriel Meyer, an Argentinian-born and raised musician, storyteller, and writer who was based in the Fertile Crescent Holy Land for 29 years and has been involved as a radical creative in sacred activism. He travels the globe performing his music with interactive prayer formats, concerts, and leads participants in his sacred place shop, interfaith and multicultural rituals in full 3-hour masterclass experiences. He's a committed human rights and spiritual activist following the example of his late father, Rabbi Marshall Meyer, building cross-cultural bridges even beyond enemy lines through his world beat fusion music, humor, and story, celebrating human spirit. He can be followed on his adventures, stories, songs, and sacred itinerary to the beat of the moon on his once a moonist, Moons, right? Okay. Moons, Substack. Gabriel is currently nomadic, but he's here with us right now, temporarily based in New York City, and has just submitted his first prose book, an autobiographical fiction of prophetic sorts, to a couple of publishers. Gabriel, it's so great to have you. Welcome.
Good to be here.
It's really a blessing.
Yeah.
And I know we recently met at your apartment where there was this incredible concert. We actually met before that at the Cornel West event just a few weeks ago. So this is a wonderful new friendship, but already feels so close to you. Your music, your devotion to a spiritualism that transcends boundaries is very much what this show is about as well. So thank you so much for being on the Radical Imagination.
Thank you.
So we are, tell us a little about your background. Give our audience a little sense of who you are before we play that first song.
Okay.
Limited Grace.
Yeah. So I was born in a summer camp that my mother and my father created, an educational summer camp in Argentina, in Córdoba, Argentina. So
Not in the Catskills.
Not in the Catskills.
Okay.
Yeah. So Spanish is my first language, and proudly Argentinian, first generation, because my parents are from here. And for me, when I was growing up there every summer in this camp, because we lived in the city in Buenos Aires, but we went to the camp every summer, nature and spirit and sports and art were one. They were not separate. Everything was part of the same puzzle kind of thing. And so that's how I grew up. And I used to be really into soccer. In Argentina, they call it football. Everybody there is into that. And I used to remember that I used to go in the back of the car when I was 4, 5, 6, and I say, okay, and I would like transmit the game and be like the narrator of a game, but instead of having football players, I will put Buddha and Muhammad passes the ball to Moses and Moses goal, and I would like make football and these spiritual leaders one, because that's how I grew up. It was all part of the same vibration, the part of the same intensity, nature, sports, ceremony.
And your father was
a rabbi.
A rabbi leading a congregation?
Also,
a human rights activist, and also
against the dictatorship.
Yeah, I want to add that was a very difficult political time.
Yes.
And the story about your father seeing one of the leading activists of the day, Jacoba Timmerman, in jail. Tell us a little about that too, along with all the football that was going on.
Oh yeah,
you narrate. You're Marv Albert here, the Argentinian Marv Albert, telling us about.
That was when I was really small, but after that, I think I told that story of my bar mitzvah when I was 13 years old. As a Jewish boy becoming a man, my father said, you got to know what's going on. So there is a ceremony that you do the Thursday before the bar mitzvah, which is to put on the phylacteries, which is the straps, the tefillin in Hebrew, and you have one for the heart and one for the mind, so you can have your actions and your thoughts as one. And so he told me, you got to see what's going on, and he took me to see Jacobo Timmerman, who was after, I think, more than a year of torture in a concentration camp.
And he was a journalist. He was a very famous
Jewish journalist who was disappeared and tortured, and my dad kind of saved his life. And then when he came out of a clandestine prison, then my father could see him and go to visit him in a normal jail. And then he moved to his house arrest. And so my dad brought me for my bar mitzvah there, and the three of us put the tefillin together, crying, and we had 6 policemen without their uniforms, the paramilitary, pointing machine guns at us while we were doing the bar mitzvah. So the three of us were crying, and I feel that was when I became initiated as a spiritual activist, and I really understood in my flesh what it is to unite prayer with justice.
Yeah. Wow, what a story. Incredible. Now, we want to play this first song, but again, how did when did this interest in music start?
I always loved to sing and dance. This was my passion since I was 3 years old. But
you were listening to Beethoven, all kinds of music.
Yeah,
was in
my
the house.
Father loved the classical music and the opera and all this stuff, a little bit of jazz. But I was also listening to Argentinian folk, and rock and roll was coming in. My sister had a boyfriend, so all these influences. And I always loved to sing. I remember when I was 10, I sang a solo for the school in the theater of a Ladino song. And so I got that, and then I went into theater. I was studying theater since I was 15. I left high school to pursue the theater.
This is all down in Argentina.
All down in Argentina.
Because you were there until you were what, 20?
22.
22.
Yeah.
All right.
So I grew up under the dictatorship and with lots of creative juices going on in the theater and musical theater, and so I played in West Side Story in Spanish.
Wow.
So I was dancing and singing already with that when I was 15 or something.
Did you as a family travel to New York, or
we came to the States a couple of times. When I was 10, we did a cross country with a car, and so my parents wanted us to see the States and all that.
Cross country meant really cross country.
Yeah, in a car,
in a car. So you really got to see
a lot of places. Yeah,
and
the Grand Canyon, California, New York.
And everywhere in between, and that's very. How old were you when you were doing that?
10.
So that was a very profound lesson, because you have traveled the world.
Yes.
Getting to know people, and that's where you really get to know people through their language and so on. But before we really get to that, set the stage for us about this
Liminal grace.
Limited grace.
Liminal.
Liminal, okay.
Liminal.
Liminal.
Yeah, not limited.
Okay, no.
Unlimited.
That's what exactly.
It's liminal. Yeah.
Liminal.
It's, the threshold between worlds. That's what's liminal. Liminal is the space which is the threshold. It's like a frontier land, no man's land, where anything can happen, So there's part of this world, part of that world, many worlds merge in the liminal space. And this is the liminal grace. And this is a song I wrote in the pandemic. I was still in Israel, Palestine then, in the Galilee where I used to live. And I love this melody by this oud master, Armenian oud master. I really love Armenian music, very special oud playing. And so Aradin Kijan is his name. I asked permission to use his melody. He said, "Oh, thank you for asking. Nobody usually asks me, so thank you." And so I put these words in English that you're going to hear now.
Right.
And basically, I'm talking about the process of how you know when it's time to sing, and I go
and
in
open
the song
up
and
right?
open up, because
open
without
up.
the vulnerability and without breaking down the defenses, there is no room for sacred song, because song comes from the sacred originally, then it became entertainment, but I still use it in trying to connect with its root. Of course, it is entertaining as well, but
let's listen to it, and then we'll talk about
Good.
this.
This song that I'm going to sing now is called Liminal Grace, and the melody is by Aradin Kijan, a master Armenian oud player, and the words are mine. And it says, "When transparency dresses our soul, when our heart pours gently through our throat, when our tune is vulnerable, defenses are breaking down within, then we know we're ready to sing." When our voice chants only to be heard, when our song seeks praise for its success, then we know it isn't pure, it's not coming from the source of truth. Our melody's not in harmony. When the old story's dying in our hands, when rebirth is nurturing our dance, as we step into the crack, trust uncertain reality, join creation's original band. Yearning to go deeper within, feel a part of everything. No expectation to be loved, yet loving as a river through the rocks. Ya la la da ya da da da. Ya da 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 ya da da da. Ya da 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 da. Ya la da 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 da. La da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. La da 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 da. When transparency dresses our soul, when our heart pours gently through our throat, when our tune is vulnerable, defenses are breaking down within, then we know we're ready to sing. When our tune is vulnerable, defenses are breaking down within, then we know we're ready to sing. La da 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 da. Ya La da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Da 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 da. La da 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 da. When transparency dresses our soul, when our heart pours gently through our throat, when our tune is vulnerable, defenses are breaking down within, then we know we're ready to sing. When our tune is vulnerable, defenses are breaking down within, then we know we're ready to sing.
That was absolutely beautiful. So carry on with what you were saying before we played this. The sacred music, this an opening up and transitioning worlds.
Yeah, well, you know, like for example, I come from the Hebrew lineage, right? So we had a temple once in Jerusalem. And in the first temple, for example, once upon a time, art and religion and theater and ecstasy and prayer and music, and so you didn't go to on Monday to a concert, on Tuesday to the therapist, on Wednesday to the theater. You went to the temple for everything.
Oh, okay.
It was one. Once it danced all together, and this is how I feel about singing as well. It's coming from a root which is this, the sacred music, which is different than just singing for entertaining, and it's about opening something and transforming something. So how do you know if it worked? If after the song ends, you're different, then it worked. And if you're not different, if nothing moved inside, then you're not, it didn't work.
Let me go back to this, the first temple here.
Okay.
Because you sort of
I
blew my mind a little bit there.
All right.
So
good.
this first temple I'm imagining here is this, what is it? Flesh that out a little for us. So you had all these people coming and praying and in a festive way, singing. No, tell me.
There were thousands of instruments. So you
Playing.
didn't have to go to a concert. The
Right, I
concert
see.
wasn't separate from prayer,
Right.
right?
So
And-
when did it get separate? Or
Well,
how did that?
I don't want to go into the history
No, okay,
of the
yeah, we can-
separation, but
all right.
basically we live now in a world where everything is fragmented. So,
Right.
you know, if you go to, I've traveled in Africa several times, in India as well, and there people, everyone dances and sings. There is no one who says, oh no, I'm too fat, I don't dance, or I'm out of tune, so I don't sing. Everybody sings in a tribe. It's like in 500 years ago here in Turtle Island. I mean, in a tribe of Native Americans, indigenous people, everyone sings. It's not like, okay, you have this type of voice, you have that type of voice, but everything makes the voice of the tribe.
But within Judaism,
Yeah.
wasn't there, you help us understand this,
Yeah.
this break more toward the joy of dance and music with the Hasidim, with the Baal Shem?
Yeah, that's like in the 18th century. But I'm
Right.
talking about from the first temple,
Right.
and then the second temple. But then the temple was destroyed, and then we
Right.
went into exile, and we lost kind of contact with our bodies and the land because we were not there anymore. So for
And the stress-
2,000 years,
Exactly.
so everything went in the body to the books.
To the piety.
After Gutenberg,
To piety.
but the
would you say?
book, and so people became like their necks and their head, and forgot about their knees and their ankles and their legs and their dancing, and when what you're talking about, Hasidut, is one of the biggest renewals. There were some before because the mystics always tried to connect to the prophetic tradition, and the prophets, you know, like Elijah the prophet. Elisha, I don't know in English how you say.
Eliyahu? Yeah.
I don't know in English, but it's Elisha in Hebrew, not
Okay.
Elijah. It's the other one.
All
So
right.
he said, "Bring me a minstrel so I can prophesy." So the prophets of ancient Israel would need a musician. To prophecy was not separated from music, And
that's your tradition, of course.
Yeah.
And was your father's tradition?
Yeah, because he was a private, assistant of Heschel for like 9 years. And so he was Susie Heschel's babysitter. And, and
I know, she told me. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Martin Buber was his other mentor.
Right.
And
of course, we know Michael Lerner, too, who wrote the book on Jewish renewal, which emphasizes what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But now, wait.
Dedicated to my dad.
Yes. So, what a small world. Now, wait. 22 years you're in Argentina.
Yes.
Then where'd you go? And
Well, the first place I went, I was really distraught. I had to leave. A woman left me. I was, after the dictatorship, I was writing in an underground magazine. Too many drugs, too many everything, police, all this. I had to leave. And I left for Greece. I was looking for a place with light. And I wanted to be in the beach naked, basically.
The Greek islands.
Yes, I went to an island. I landed there. I had cassettes and a few
Which one?
books.
Which one? Because
it was 1988. It was called EOS.
EOS,
in
iOS,
in Kyklades Island. And I arrived before even Greeks from Athens came there. So everything was closed in the island. There was just the locals. So I said, great, I don't have to talk to anyone, And so but 2 weeks later, people started coming for their summer, and the bars started opening, discotheques, this, that. I said, no, I got to get out of here. I can't. I couldn't talk to people then. I was like, my eyes hurt. I had to and my dream was to write poetry. I wanted to write, and so I moved to the. I went walking one day for 3 hours. I saw a valley with little white houses with blue windows. I said, I wanted one of those. I went to the bar there in the beach. I asked, who's the owner? I said, oh, one of the twins. Oh, the twins. I know the other twin because he was my landlord of the other room I was staying. So he said, what are you kind of going to do here? There's nobody here. Yeah. Now the party's starting, in the village. He said, no, I don't need a party. I'll pay you in advance. So I got that room. I stayed there for 4 months.
4 months.
And then in Greece, in that island, I was a massage therapist. I became the esoteric massage therapist with great music, and I had my tape recorder with.
And you incorporated in your repertoire some of the Greek themes, right, in music, or was at that time?
Not so much.
Really, not so much?
I used to like the Rembetico, but I was more into writing there. I was leaving the theater and more into writing poetry. Okay. So I was more into the French, and that's where I met a French guy. We started writing a movie, and he gave me the keys to his Paris apartment. And so I moved from EOS to Paris, and I had an apartment for myself for a month or two because he was with his dad in South France. When he came back, he gave me another apartment of his friend, and we kept writing this movie, and I started writing my book of poetry.
Gabe, would you tell our audience?
Yes.
Because I'm part of that generation too. This actually did happen. People did that.
Oh, yeah.
You would. I stayed in Strasbourg. Somebody gave me their apartment for a couple weeks. I stayed in Paris, the Shakespeare and Company bookstore. Yeah. So this happened.
I remember that bookstore.
Yeah, the bastard great-great-grandson Walt Whitman. Yeah. Just put you. So this is the connection between people and breaking down the barriers.
Well, there was no phone, no cell phone, no internet.
So important. Yeah.
And so people had a direct connection with reality. I mean, remember. Then I moved to New York, but I remember going to Ireland. Because somebody in a party told me, see you in Ireland in this gathering, and I went looking for a gathering, but there was no internet, nothing, so I had to ask in the street. People that I thought would know, where is the magic forest?
And you got there.
I got there.
That's the thing.
I got there after, from Dublin to Cork, and from Cork to Bantry, and from Bantry I met this guy in a cafe. I mean, it's a long story. I'm not going to go to the whole story, but magic happens when you let it happen,
And that's what we're talking about in the title here, change and how do you bring that about? And magic. This is not magic, is it? It's going back to the way people used to be.
Well, magic comes from the word magi, which is the
magi.
The Sufis. You
were very influenced by the Sufis.
Yes, because Kabbalists and Sufis were together. Also, rabbis and sheikhs. In Cairo, 12th century, they used to pray together on Thursday nights and dance together.
Oh.
And even the grandson of Maimonides says, Ovadia Maimonides, in his book, The Treatise of the Pool, he wrote in Arabic, like everything else that he wrote, and he says, thanks to the Ishmaelis, to the Sufis, we got the dances still of the prophets of Israel. That's the Sufi zikr, that's the devotional cleansing of the heart.
And it's about not, as you put it, it's not about sympathy, it's about empathy, and empathy through really getting to know people's language.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know the word abracadabra, you talk about magic, you know, that's Aramaic. It means, it's ebra ke dibra. It means I shall create as I speak. Because the word used to create stuff, used to have value.
And it made you safe, didn't it? Even, I know I'm jumping here, but you were involved in the Gaza situation in 2014.
That's right. That's
and
right. We had a camp there called "We Refuse to Be Enemies" in the middle of the war. Yeah, that was amazing.
And the safety that came about.
Well,
the safety in the middle of this.
Yeah, the safety came about because we were planting trees, Palestinians and Israelis together in the midst of the war, in the midst of the bombs. We were taking care of a rabbit. So it's like creation has an original band, like I said in the song, you know, join the original, creation's original band. The band is composed of rivers, mountains, you know, trees, animals, and humans. We are the youngest ones. So, but when you get that family together and you include them in your life, you feel safer because, you know,
they're no longer the other.
No.
Your enemy.
They're your family.
And what a great segue into your next song, Human.
That's right.
So let's play that and then we'll talk about it.
Okay, great.
Wow.
This song is called Human, and the lyrics and the melody are mine. And it says, because it has Spanish in it, I will translate a little bit. It says, I'm from the east and from the west, from the north and from the south. I'm red, I'm black, I'm yellow and white. I'm a man and a woman, an elder and a child. I'm Muslim, I'm Hindu, I'm Jewish and Christian. I'm animist, Buddhist, atheist and Taoist. I'm a Palestinian and I'm Aboriginal Hebrew. I'm a Bedouin, I'm Irish, Argentinian, from Atlantis, Senegalese, Australian, Indian, Russian, Eskimo, and French. And our temple shall be for all people to heal, for all people, just like you and me. I'm also tall and very short. I'm fat, I'm skinny, I have a lot of hair, and I'm bald. I'm full of muscles, and I have none. I'm from the humus, and the planet suckles me. I breathe, and I bless the great name.
Soy de Oriente y también de Occidente, soy del norte y también soy del sur, soy piel roja y también amarilla, soy un negro y también soy un blanco, soy mujer y también soy un hombre, soy anciano y también soy un niño. And our temple shall be for all peoples to heal, for all people, just like you and me. And our temple shall be for all peoples to heal, for all people, just like you and me. Musulmano, hindú, judío y cristiano, animista, budista, ateo y del Tao, palestino y aborigen hebreo, soy beduino, irlandés, argentino, soy de Atlantis, de Senegal, australiano, de la India, ruso, esquimal y de Francia. our temple shall be for all peoples to heal, for all people, just like you and me. And our temple shall be for all peoples to heal, for all people, just like you and me. It all started in a dream. Mother Teresa, Bob Marley, and Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan in Jerusalem. The dream then becomes a vision. The healer is releasing the racial, religious, and ethnic root stress knots of our planet. Kashmir and Wounded Knee, Gore Island, Lhasa, Uluru, Kosovo and Jerusalem. A spirit security council guarding the old city of Jerusalem. The Dalai Lama and Amaji. Orval Looking Horse and Joanna Macy. Messi, Ronaldinho, and Karim Abdul-Jabbar, and respected elders from the 3 local religions. The vision becomes prophecy. And our temple shall be for all peoples to heal, for all people, just like you and me. And our temple shall be for all peoples to heal, for all people, just like you and me.
What a beautiful song. And so tell our audience what you were trying to accomplish there.
Well, the song started with this dream, you know. I actually had this dream they just died like a few years from each other, Bob Marley, Mother Teresa, and Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. And I dreamt of the 3 of them in Jerusalem, in the square kilometer where everything, the Holy Sepulchre Church, you know, the Dome of the Rock and the Wailing Wall, all of it happens. It's a very small area. And the 3 of them were there in my dream. So it all started in a dream. And then I started like, okay, but the dream can become a vision. And then, you know, and the vision is, what is the vision? The vision is to heal, like if it were acupuncture points in Jerusalem, you know, because if you massage Jerusalem in the right way, the giraffes will feel it in South Africa, you know, it will go all the way to China and all the way to Europe, and because Jerusalem is one of those points, like Uluru in Australia, like the Hopis, like the Lakota sacred lands. Jerusalem is also an ancient place. And so if you start massaging those places, it spreads. It spreads, and it's not, you know the song of Frank Sinatra, if you can make it there, you'll make it anywhere. He was confused. It's not New York, it's Jerusalem. Actually, you know, Reb Zalman said the United Nations should move to Jerusalem because from there could be like a spread, you know, of prophetic justice instead of a spread of armies and war like the Israeli government is doing now. We're talking more about the prophetic message that is written in the United Nations by Isaiah, right? Nations shall not
brought the plowshares,
the
weapons of this.
Yeah,
but again, yes.
So the human song.
I hear you.
It comes also Isaiah is the chorus for my song. It says, and our temple shall be, you know, a place to heal for all peoples, like you and me. I put my own words to Isaiah, but basically, Beit Tefilati, Beit Tfilah Ikareh Lekol Ha'amim, for all people. See, God is not Jewish, you know. God, you know, some people want to own God, but God is not ownable. The whole story of God is that it's a mystery that is unownable, unnameable. So the song Human talks about remembering the humus, which is where the word human comes from. Humus is the part of the fertile part of earth. In Hebrew, the word Adam comes from the word Adama, which means earth. Earth. Yeah. And so we are earthlings, right?
Right.
And also, so we're trying to remember that connection with the earth, with the humus, and also with our humor, because I think in these times of turbulence and utter destruction and chaos, humor is one of the most important medicines I know.
Absolutely, but here's, not to put a catch to all this, but you're preaching to the converted here.
I'm not preaching.
No, okay, yeah.
And we're
no,
trying
I
to
understand.
create a choir because we're soloists out of
good
tune.
point.
You know?
Good point. Not right. No,
Yeah.
that's right. Okay, but there's no way the present Israeli government would even begin to think about having the UN in Jerusalem. What do you do with such a
No,
viewpoint?
that was just Reb Zalman. That's not me.
No, I understand, but
I'm
why not?
not saying that.
No, but
I'm.
okay,
You know
all
what
right.
what I believe in
Politically.
is what I believe in is that polis is a Greek word that means community, basically.
yeah, I understand.
So if we take out the party system and the elections and all that and create communities,
right.
you know, where people have a voice, where everyone has a voice, you know, the word for peace, shalom and salam in Hebrew, is the word for complete, for wholeness, for healing. It's not the word pax in Latin, you know, the word that's where the word peace in English comes from, or paz in Spanish. It's a different type concept. It's a concept where wholeness means that every single part of the whole needs to be voiced, heard, have justice and freedom and equality, you know.
And you're talking about a classless, stateless world in a sense.
I'm
aren't
talking, where every single being, from a giraffe to a tomato, have rights, you know, everyone. From an old person in China to a, you know, whatever, to a cactus in Peru, they're all living beings, you know. It's an indigenous way of seeing the world. Indigenous doesn't mean that they come from North America. Indigenous means that we come from the humus. You know, the humus are the earth. We're all connected in that way. We all have, you know, bodies, bones. The bones are the earth. So anyway, I just wanted to say that if you guys want to follow all these crazy ideas, and I have this thing called Substack, once a month. So if you want to go for that, go to once a month, and you can check it out. It's by Gabriel Meyer. Yeah.
Gabriel Meyer. Now, what do we do with the present situation in Gaza? How do we begin the process you're talking about?
Well, the process has begun. It's not that we have to begin, and it's not just up to us, you know. It's up to opening up the channels for people to I don't have the answer, you know. It's not like I'm going to give you that's the answer. No, I don't believe in that. I believe that everybody needs to find a way to open up to the other and basically to start closing the gap of the blind spots that we have. So if we stop, like, let's say there's this beautiful poem from Rabbi Cook that talks about the 4 dimensions, right? And the first song is the song that people sing about themselves. But then your heart grows, and it's not enough to sing about yourself, and you have to sing about your people. Okay, let's say the Jewish people. And then it's not enough, because that's not enough. And then you sing about humanity. That's the 3rd level. But humanity is not enough. We got to sing about all creatures, not just about humans. Look what the hubris of humans got us where we are now, in peril. Right. So that's the 4-fold song. That's the Song of Songs. And that's when you don't need to talk about God, because God is in everything.
And this is not cerebral. This is not intellectual.
No, this is experiential. This is
it goes
sharing,
beyond that.
Breaking bread with your neighbor. You know,
at a basic level.
Yes,
level.
yes. So when you don't have that identification, you know that the world doesn't end with your Judaism. The world ends with Gabriel.
Yeah.
But you expand it and more. Then you share, you know, you have a good piece of bread, you share it with your Palestinian neighbor. You learn a song, you know, that's where my languages come in. I can sing in people's languages, that opens hearts. When I go to India, I was just in India in this water pilgrimage with the Defend the Sacred Alliance that was created, inspired by Standing Rock. And La Donna Brable was part of our group. She passed a couple of years ago. We have people from every single tradition in the human family, every race, every religion, atheists too. And so when we get somewhere, there is a power in bringing a borderless, you know, unidentified human which is composed of many identities. There's a Palestinian next to an Israeli, next to an African, next to a, from all races, all colors, all religions. And then when that happens, there is a chance that the vibration of peace, of salam, will perforate, because when you start going beyond the reptilian brain, people are attached, and they think you're going to attack them, and if you succeed, so I'm going to lose. But if you get rid of that, if you melt that brain through song, through lullabies, through food,
and economic political systems that foster that.
Yeah.
You mentioned having to leave Argentina for personal reasons, and probably it sounded like also safety reasons. You might not have been here, you might have been who knows what.
Oh, in the dictatorship?
Yeah,
but I left after the dictatorship was over. But yeah,
all right, but still you were...
I was threatened.
But
my
now,
sisters were threatened.
That's right, by forces that didn't see things
No.
the way you... Nor would, if you went today in the middle of what's going on in Gaza there, you would find...
No, I wouldn't take out my guitar in Gaza. I mean, maybe yes, I would, because when I was in the West Bank under a bombardment, I did sing. And I sat with two Palestinian kids. They were like 6 and 8,
Right.
and we were together with a friend coming from the States, and she took me there, and they were so scared, and I started singing, and they stopped crying for while the bombing was going.
Right.
So music can help. I don't think that's the solution.
It's a start.
It's one entry point. There's many entry points.
There's a story about Shlomo Carlebach.
Yeah.
I think it was after the '67 war. He said, listen, he would go to the Damascus Gate and play, and so on. He said, listen, all I want to do is I want to hug every Arab that came through the gate there. And he caused such fuss that some of the military authorities said, what are you doing here? He said, and Carlebach said, listen, let me have 1,000 of my followers come and hug all the Arabs, and I'll make peace faster than all your bombs and tanks. But as you say, it's a start, and
it's one entry point. I say
one entry point.
Yeah, there's many dimensions to as we said, to peace,
Right.
which is wholeness. So it has to include all the voices: the engineers, the astronauts, the garbage collectors, the agriculture people, the doctors, the musicians, the poets. Of course, musicians, poets, artists, they have the avant-garde of the heart. They're heartivists. They're not just activists.
Right.
They come with the heart. That's I
and
like.
Cornell agrees with
Yes.
that. You were going to say that, yes.
Yeah. So when the heart leads, and the brain is not the boss but works for the heart, it's very different than the other way around. So the paradigm of heartivism, of coming from the heart for an action, with prayer, with your mind, using your intelligence. I'm not saying, like a new age, just get away from your mind. No, you got to use your cerebral capacity is very important.
And your love, capacity to love.
Yeah, well, of course,
That's
the heart.
a given.
The heart is the love. That's and the experiential way of relating to people. People get it when you. Let's say when I came the first time to the West Bank and I sang to a Sufi sheikh in Arabic, in the beginning he was, super tight. Oh, hello, and I came with all sorts of plans from the ceremony of Sukkot, tabernacles, and he said, okay, and everything was very formal. But when I took I had a drum then, I didn't even know how to play guitar. I had a djembe, African djembe, I just came back from Africa. I started saying La ilaha illallah with the drum, and when he heard that, he called his son to bring the drum.
And
he
you
called
stayed,
his daughter.
and you were
We
invited
became
to
part
his
of the
house.
family. Yes.
You were part of the,
yeah, he
it's
brought
amazing.
food, and so something happens when the reptilian brain is melted into the limbic brain. Then, after the limbic brain takes over, when you see a puppy dog, a sunset, when a beautiful woman kisses you, I don't know, all sorts of things happen, and all of a sudden all your defenses are down, and then something then your cortex, your neocortex, which is where you can talk about everything, about how to divide, how to share water, and how to,
That's a great. Once the heart is open, then the mind follows.
Yes, and you can
it's on the right
resolve.
path.
You can resolve things in a different way.
Absolutely.
If you trust someone, you can talk about anything, even about difficult things.
Which is what Combatants for Peace does, and our friend
yes,
is involved with.
Yeah.
Before we run out of time, we want you to play the third song here.
Yeah, this will
Set
be in
that up
Hebrew
for
and
us.
Arabic.
And tell us about the song. Well,
Yeah.
let's hear it, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So this last song, by the way, if you like the music, you can check out me on Bandcamp. The link is here. You will see it on the screen. And the last song is actually a prayer. All songs are prayer, but this one is a special prayer because it's in Hebrew and Arabic. And it's anonymous prayer from the Jewish tradition in Iraq in the 12th century. And this professor from the Sorbonne made it a zikr, which is a Sufi remembrance to cleanse the heart and remember that we are all one, even though we're diverse and different. So the Arabic says, La ilaha illallah, there is no one but the one. And the Hebrew says exactly the same thing. En Keloeinu, en Kadoneinu, en que Malkeno, en que Moshienu, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, mi Keloeinu, mi Kadoneinu, mi que Malkeno, mi que Moshienu, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, no del Eloheinu, no del Adoneinu, no del Malkeno, no del Moshienu, Allah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkenu, Baruch Moshienu, Allah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. Ein Sof.
Again, such beautiful openness, and it does open people's hearts. So tell us a little about what's going on in that song.
Well, I think I said something before I sang it, but basically, you know, Kabbalists and Sufis, as we said a little before, always were connected. There was a prophetic tradition that, as we said before also, needed music and trance to be able to be alive. It wasn't just like from the mind. The prophet wouldn't like sit down and just, you know, there was music, there was trance, and
poetry and dance and so on.
And trance, and that's when the prophecy would come. You know, that's how the prophet saw justice, justice you shall pursue.
Trance.
Yeah.
So people were in trances.
Yeah.
Okay, explain that a little bit.
Trance is when you get out of ordinary reality, you know.
Okay.
It's extraordinary, meaning
Extraordinary.
more ordinary than the ordinary. You know, it's like, it's something that is deeper, it's within what's happening. It's not that it's not happening. All the time you have magic, extraordinary reality. People are just not aware of it because they are only seeing the outer garments of reality. You know, in the Kabbalah they talk about 4 levels of reality. So if you just see the clothes, okay, I can, you know, focus on your clothes, but then I can focus on your body, okay, 2nd level. Then I focus inside, okay, but then I focus on the inside on the secret of things. And that's when it starts getting multidimensional, and that's where trance lives.
And which is what you create in your events and in your music that I hope our audience will get a chance to get into even more than they have.
Yeah, check it out in Bandcamp.
In Bandcamp, exactly. So we're having, you know, I don't want to be academic here,
no,
but
you do you.
No, but sociologist Durkheim talked about the transition from profane to the sacred.
Yes.
And
and back.
And back, and Durkheim was the son of a rabbi too.
Oh, okay. I don't know Durkheim, but
a lot of them were.
I understand.
Emil Durkheim.
Yes.
And one of the founding fathers, and that was. But what made it sacred was the collective.
Yes.
Getting outside of oneself into the social.
Yeah.
So you're saying some of the same stuff here.
Yeah.
The connection with humans.
Because when you become vulnerable, it's, you know, if you see the word letters of vulnerable, is almost like venerable, you know. You become venerable when you're vulnerable. And if you're not vulnerable, there's no room for song to pop up in a real way. There's no room for connection. If we stay in our, you know, okay, Monday I do gym at 9, then I go at 10 to this. I have to look at my phone so I don't see anybody in the street smiling. You might lose like a new friend.
And not only, you're so right. And the tightly controlled authoritarian type can't deal with that, can't stand it. And
it's fear, you know.
It's fear. It's fear-based of losing control and what will happen.
Yeah. You know, the saying that says, you know, don't worry, nothing is under control. You know, relax, nothing is under control. Because that's how it really is. We don't know if we're going to die next minute or not. This might be the last minute.
Last minute we have.
Yeah, and this is the last time we will be in this way together. It will never happen again. So
there's particular.
Yes.
Hopefully there'll be many more times. But this is all we have.
And maybe not. You know.
That's
so
that's all we have
this is all
right
we
now.
have. And so if we are in it, let's try to be in it with all we have, not just with our minds, not just with our hearts, not just with our bodies, not just with our spirit, with all of it together, you know.
I agree. I agree. I think I feel that with you.
That's great.
And
it takes one to know one, you know. That's what it's.
Yeah. So you feel it. So we've connected.
Yes.
In a way, in a way, it's sad in the sense that it's a brief moment, but as we move on to interact with others, that spirit carries over.
Yes.
And just as you were talking about, moving from Greece to Paris, and the apartment that was given to you, just as I had places that people gave me to stay.
Then I got to Africa, after New York, Sinai. I got a camel. I mean, I built a house in the Sinai.
You had your own camel?
Yeah, we bought a camel between 4 friends.
You bought a camel? Wow.
Yeah. Abu Nab was his name.
Oh my goodness! Well, so
that was before I moved to Israel. Yeah.
And one camel, though.
Yeah, one camel, because we needed to bring the food from the coast to where we were living. I was living in the mountains, far from, half hour from the nearest neighbors. So we needed to carry all this vegetables.
Was the camel a little missing the other camels? Maybe you should have gotten 2. I'm being a little silly here, but I don't know about camels. But that was.
But then I went to Africa a couple of times, in Sinai and Morocco and India and then Latin America. I mean, I've been around, and whenever you go around, you see that the only way, like Reb Zalman, his memory is a blessing, one of my biggest teachers, said, the only way to get it together is together. And when you travel, you sense that. You're at the mercy of people. And if you don't trust them, they won't help you.
And we're at the mercy of the time.
That's right.
Unfortunately.
Time is
art.
That's
controlling us. Time is art.
Yes.
Time is music. I'm so blessed to have you on. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.
For being on the
I
Radical
really enjoyed
Imagination.
this.
I did too. Very, very much.
Good.
And thank you very much to our audience. We'll see you again next week. This is Jim Vrettos on the Radical Imagination. And follow Gabriel on Substack and
Bandcamp, the music.
Bandcamp, okay? All the best. All right, thank you again. We'll see you next week on the Radical Imagination.